Alrighty, into the effing fray.
Into the feck. Well, I don't know. I was thinking about going halfway between fucking and fecking. Just yeah, I didn't know who would be listening and who would be offended. So I tried to go with fecking.
I'll go
Right,
with the Battlestar Galactica. Frack.
fracking. Yeah, even better because it's offensive to those who know it and not to those who don't.
Yeah, and that is cable TV, I guess.
Mhm.
Was it cable TV? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was sci-fi. So when it was still SCIFI, not SYFY, because
Is it cable or some other channels that can get away with that?
it's basic cable. You can get away with that. You can just say like, oh, like if someone wanted to say like shit, but they can't say it, they would just say, oh, shats. Like that, like that's as close that you can get to it before people start suspecting. Oh, wait, that could possibly be a bad word.
Christopher Walken can get away with it.
Well, yeah, you can because he's Christopher freaking Walken, and you can also get. I've also noticed that you can get away with it on frequently on SNL. Like they had Bono when he was giving out awards. He said "fucking" once, and it got past the censors because like, okay, it's Bono, it's big. Who cares?
Who does care anyway? I don't even know who gets offended by that. What kid is staying up at midnight watching SNL? Who's gonna get offended by that?
Yeah, no, and I was like, yeah, like who's actually watching SNL at this point in time? It's like I was, besides the diehard SNL fans, like there's nothing really there. I mean, I like the people who are, the actors and actresses, as the comedians, but I just don't find it very funny. Like I know Kenan Thompson's on it, and I love Kenan Thompson because hey, Kenan and Kel was my shit during the days of my youth. But
Fuck yeah.
yeah, but yeah, and I also love the fact that Kel Mitchell, when he was getting married, he tweeted a picture of him and his wife and his fiance, soon to be wife, drinking orange soda at the wedding reception. I was like, you son of a bitch, you have somehow found a way to wheedle your way into my heart even more than you already have.
Well, unlike other, established actors that have, donned a role that has become very nostalgic and memorable to some people in their youths, Kenan Thompson is the perfect example of a typecasted man who can
Yeah.
never go beyond Kenan and Kel.
Well, I mean, he's like the goofy. He's like the fat black Martin Freeman, where he's like, and the American version as well, where he's the straight man. He's trying to play it. He's trying to keep things under control, but everything usually just goes wrong around him, and he's supposed to just react to that. Like in Kenan and Kel, he was a straight man, and also in his best cinematic outing to date, Snakes on a Plane, where he was the guy who helped land, who was Samuel L. Jackson helped land the plane, which was seriously, people. If you want a movie to laugh at and just like nonstop, and the film encourages you to do so, get Snakes on a Plane. That film really just is one of the best comedies of all time, just because it takes itself so seriously, but everyone behind it was just like, it's Snakes on a Plane. What's serious about it? So just check it out. And Kenan Thompson is great in it, just because he's like the only what I love about it is that the plot twist is that like he can only land the plane just because he was playing a PS2 version of a flight simulator. That's the only reason why he could do that. Yeah.
Take that, Republicans. Video games aren't bad. If Kenan Thompson can land a plane and Snakes on a Plane, I think he could do it. I think it's all right.
Do not get me even started on the NRA and the fact that everyone's finger pointing at everywhere else,
Oh god.
except for gun control laws. I love it. I just love the fact that they're not even trying to address assault rifles as something that's totally unnecessary. But, because it's a Second Amendment, people have to defend it just because, well, fuck you. Illogical statements win for the day.
That's right. I was doing my Charles Barkley impression. But yes,
We have that to talk about as well.
Charles Barkley?
Yeah, Charles Barkley, Shut Up and Jam. But that is for a little while later for those of you who...
We gotta do a show on that. I actually was thinking about... Oh, never mind. Yeah, maybe do an episode on that or something. And I don't know, for some reason I was like in the shower. That's when my best moments and thoughts come from, when I'm in the shower. I was thinking about Splinter Cell as a series in general. It's like, that'd be cool. We can get into like the discussion on the whole series in general and how it has evolved. Because I was playing Chaos Theory recently on the PC because I got that on Steam. They had this whole goddamn amazing Steam holiday sale things that people are voting on different games to be put on sale. So it's goddamn ridiculous amount of how cheap some of these games are going for on the PC. It makes me want to jump on board to the PC. Really,
And
that's
you know what makes me even happier is that
PC.
now that I'm back in the United States of America, I can enjoy these sales and the fact that I can download games from my Steam account without having to, jump through hoops and get one of my roommates to, buy a game through his Steam account and then gift me the thing and then be able to play it because gosh darn it, I absolutely am so happy to be back in the United States. My 360 is here. I made sure to kiss it, to lovingly hold it in my arms, and also to tongue the entry port. But that's for another time at my After Dark segment. And
Yeah.
and I have to take. And also for Christmas, I got one of the a large hard drive.
Oh,
Which
son of a bitch.
yeah, oh yeah, just I had a 360 Slim before I left for Australia, but I didn't have a hard drive nor memory card, so it was basically just like, okay, I got like 4 gigabytes of save space, and with that I couldn't even play old Xbox games just because of the fact that I needed a hard drive to save to, so that
Yeah.
limited my gaming options. But now that I've got it back, and oh my gosh, it is so good to be back and enjoying a lot of gaming and just good old times. Really, just the one of the best feelings I got was just coming back and being able to sit down in my house with my own gaming console again, just be like, oh man, baby, how I've missed you. And 6 months worth of games, including some that I did play overseas, but I just bought again just to make sure that I got the full experience. So yeah.
I definitely got some games they probably haven't played to recommend too, but we're jumping all over the place. I think we should start off with the introduction, episode 124, I believe Thumbs podcast with Splinter47, and my co-host extraordinaire CH Gorog. We're back. It's only been 2 weeks, and it feels like forever.
Exactly. Well, it's been a long time. I got, just getting back from Australia, I've had to adjust to both the to both like the time differentials. I've got my circadian rhythm to get back into effect,
Yeah.
and just I missed 6 months of family drama to catch up on. So
Right.
now that I'm back, I'm catching up. I'm doing well over here. I'm of course trying to locate a job for the next semester of my schooling, just because, gosh darn it, I can't be left alone without worrying about money. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And hey,
Loans.
I'm still here, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm more than happy to talk about some fantastic gaming experiences that we've had over the year, a reflection, if you will,
Mm.
of what we saw, the comings and goings, or we can just ignore it altogether, just whatever comes to our mind.
I think that's the case for this episode because I got not really much in terms of news, and really people who are really into the gaming scene are probably already aware or what's going on. So that leaves us for our opinions, and that's completely original content. You cannot get it
Yes.
anywhere else. So
Yeah, it is.
stick that up your nose, IGN.
Whoa, 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 whoa! What is with those harmful phrases there,
I know.
Splinter?
I know.
Okay.
I've become a harder, tougher man since we last recorded this podcast. The extra day where we were supposed to record, those couple hours has driven me to into the fray of madness.
You know what? I didn't realize you had become such a jaded man about just the world. And you know what? The NRA is hiring, so why don't you go over there and just enjoy their loving embrace, you cynical Mr. Man.
That's right. Yeah, now that I think about it, I have become jaded with some stuff. God damn, what's wrong with me? I can't even enjoy cartoons anymore.
Well, to be fair, cartoons really haven't been keeping pace since just I mean, over the years, like, can we at least agree that over the years, cartoons have been treating kids more and more like just objects that cannot possibly handle any mention of adult content whatsoever. Like the concept of smoking a cigar or drinking alcohol or chasing after women is something that like is so like during Tom and Jerry, like that would, or like some of the Tex Avery cartoons.
The Looney Tunes, man, they're blowing each other up. And Elmer Fudd trying to kill Bugs Bunny every episode. Yosemite Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff, and just having it be, just what it is, cartoon violence that shouldn't be taken seriously with, then, Sylvester chasing Twitty, which is, I guess, I don't know what came first, Tom and Jerry or that, but definitely similar. I don't know why I'm getting into that, but yeah.
It's for that. Just it's the end of the year. I'm nostalgic. I'm looking back on the year as well as I'm looking back at kind of my life, just because it's that time of the year where you're looking back on your life and wondering, okay, what's changed, what stayed the same, what should I improve, what should I avoid, and for cartoons, I really do feel bad. Not because the quality of animation has gone down. I think the quality of animation for cartoons all around has steadily increased, and
It's just the content.
yeah, it like if you go online on YouTube, there's a bunch of Tex Avery cartoons that they've included on just like on random users that have uploaded, and then Warner Brothers and whoever holds the right to those cartoons don't give a damn about removing them just because they're too big of a company to even care. So if you want to check out good old cartoons, check out that, just because there was that one cartoon where it had it was frequently like Tex Avery had that dog that like would be chasing around I think his name was Butch, and he was always like with Snoopy.
Mm.
I'm sorry, not Snoopy. Droopy Dog, where it would be like it's like the bigger dog, and he would be like doing underhanded things. And there was one where he was like performing an opera, and the actual conductor was like a magician who actually got tossed out of Butch's dressing room just because like Butch thought he was like a complete a charlatan. He didn't care, so he just decided to get his revenge by like taking over as the conductor, and like would continually like switch up Butch's costume and wardrobe while he was singing, and like they would even go to different music styles, and it was just the uncut version is really shows like the difference between the times of then and now, just because they have such radically racist portrayals of blacks, of Chinese. It's like, wow, I can understand why they cut this out, just because I remember watching it as a kid. It's like, oh, okay, this was fun, but they definitely cut out some stuff. And
there was plenty of that for Looney Tunes that tread the line right there with racial interpretations, stereotypes. I mean,
it wasn't insulting back then. It was just like, okay, like they're different, and because of that, we need to show it off.
And we had Bugs Bunny cross-dressing.
Oh yeah,
just funny. So yeah, Scooby-Doo makes me laugh for some reason. I don't know why.
It's so symptomatic of its time, of the 70s, where it's like, okay, it's like, okay, a bunch of kids going around in a van solving mysteries. They're obviously influenced by hippie culture, because you have I was about to say Fred and Wilma. But that's certainly not it. Fred, Daphne. Just like dancing to disco, and you have like a Shaggy basically doing everything except wearing tie dye to show off that he's a hippie, and then you have Scooby Doo, as the talking sidekick dog, and like every cartoon of that era, like what was it like? What was it? Funky Phantom, and what was the Jabberjaws? Like they always had like this like 4 kids or like 2 kids, and like some sort of random talking something. Like they would either have a talking dog or like the speed buggy where they had like a talking car. I don't think they ever explained why the car was talking or why everyone seemed to just react normally to it.
Oh, maybe yeah.
Post-apocalyptic future where cars could talk and people just became, attuned to it.
Yeah, there's so many how many influxes of that show that take just those main ideas of, group of kids and then whatever sidekick that they they have with them to solve some problem, one way or another. Goddamn, Scrappy Doo was the Joe Curley of the, of the Scooby Doo.
Now hold on just a second.
Goddamn.
Joe Curley was not as bad as Scrappy Doo. Scrappy Doo was just like, okay, it's not like, okay, I don't know, like maybe the voice actor for Scooby Doo passed away, and they're saying, okay, we can't have Scooby Doo anymore. Let's get somebody else on. It's more like, okay, we have Three Stooges. Let's add another wacky sidekick on the side, who's obviously not even close to the personality of these people right here. Like the finely tuned, like Joe, Mo Curley and not Shemp. I'm sorry, Mo Curley and Larry. You know, Shemp was good too, but you know, it was no Curly. Yeah. But like Mo, Larry, and Curly, you know, they had a good chemistry together. Theirs is the best of the Three Stooges, years of skits.
Most definitely.
I'm sorry.
Most definitely.
And then, like, it would be like adding somebody who didn't fit with the rhythm of what they had. Like Mo would, you know, try to get the guys like doing a crazy plan. Larry would be trying to like be a straight guy trying to hit on the girls and you know try to look legitimate, but ultimately failing. And then Curly would just be like in the background, like getting into a fist fight with a clam. Yeah, something crazy like that.
Yeah, that's about narrows it down. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you would be adding something would be like, okay, and now let's add a character who likes to eat newspaper. Like, what the hell does that do with the dynamic? I don't know. We need it because the kids like it, and so that's basically Scrappy Doo.
No, Scrappy Doo wipes his ass with Joe Curley.
Mm. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know. Fortunately, you know, with the release of the Scooby-Doo live-action movie, everyone's realized that, oh my God, Scrappy-Doo really is a pain in the ass, and nobody does like him, so let's make fun of him. So, yeah. I mean, at least that was the benefit of coming out of that movie.
Mm-hmm. And Rowan Atkinson.
I'm sorry?
And Rowan Atkinson in it.
Oh my God. What part did he play?
He was in the first one. He was like the guy who worked on on the island of some hotel or something.
Oh yeah, he was the manager of the hotel.
Yeah.
It's been so long. Like that movie was released in 2000, right?
About there. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since that masterpiece of a film was released.
I forget most of that movie except for like a couple of scenes, and one of them is the opening scene where they go to Six Flags to solve like some sort of crime. And then, like, after they catch the bad guy, like, Shakira comes on out and says, like, oh, thank you so much, like, Scooby and the gang. Like, you guys have saved the day. It's like, okay, this is so overtly, like, advertisement for Six Flags. It's not even funny. But fortunately, the internet was not as prevalent in determining our critical level of such advertising. And that kind of slid under the radar.
Yeah, those type of movies, they always had to incorporate advertisements like that, just so, you know, not even obscure. They don't even go for obscure. It's just right in your face. So go to Six Flags if they see this movie, pretty much.
Yeah. I was surprised that like Scooby and the gang like didn't just like pull off the mask of you know the monster running around. It was like it wasn't like just the old Six Flags guy, just like, hey, let's dance to the song by Venga Boys. And then yeah, it's like it was just so overtly cheesy and campy that for some reason it worked.
Fuck yeah.
And I can't even put my finger on what about it was because like the writing wasn't that great.
Let's say it was at least worth a watch once if you're a Scooby-Doo fan at all. But other than that, if it's on TV, maybe I'll watch it, but I won't go as far as to rewatch it again. Let's just say that. But I don't know how we got into that discussion. But this is not a movie podcast.
Yeah.
But regardless, that is just fine. It's been a while, so apologies for this. We're rusty there.
No worries.
I know how to segue. Segue into well, I did get some games for Christmas.
Oh, congrats! What'd you get?
I got Binary Domain,
Ooh, I heard that was a good one.
Shadows of the Damned. I haven't played.
Okay,
And
that sounded like an awesome one.
I think that's yeah. And then I got Alpha Protocol for myself a couple days prior to Christmas, which I did finish before we did record this podcast. So I got plenty of things to say about that. And Binary Domain, check that. I really like Binary Domain. It is awesome. It's the let's just say if you take the awesomeness in of Tango and Cash, a B action movie and make it a third person shooter with robots. That's what you get. Binary
Okay,
Domain.
what you're saying is this is Tango and Cash meets Terminator.
Yes, in some ways, yes.
Okay, I'm buying it. I don't care. Tomorrow morning, just getting on up, going over to the GameStop. I'm picking it up.
Yeah, it is worth. It is definitely worth a look because we've already throughout the few years, the past few years of gaming, we've gotten it's just so oversaturated with zombies, and some games
Yeah.
doing well than others, but this one is a good game, a good third person shooter. Doesn't do anything completely new or innovative in terms of the third person shooter aspect. It's kind of like it's got the Gears of War stuff there. So if you play a Gears of
Right.
War game, I think it'd be well suited in there.
Well, then
Now,
how about we talk about that? Right.
Binary Domain.
Yep. Let's dissect the game and tell the ladies and gents out there about how you felt about it.
I haven't beaten it yet, but it's from the beginning. To get the little tutorial there, and it is there. And it's in very Japanese, so I think it's a Western. Trying to make it a Western third-person shooter, but made by the Japanese. I think it's the same guy who did the Yakuza games, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
cool.
I don't remember, but uh, you get
It's always interesting to see what the Japanese think of Americans.
and yeah, they think very interesting thoughts of us. Let's just say that. Alrighty, we're back.
Mhm.
I was gonna no, just talk a little bit about Binary Domain. It's kind of set in a post-apocalyptic world,
Mhm.
and it where different corporations have the technology to make robots, use them as kind of slave labor, and I guess one of they use it to rebuild a good portion of what was devastated, I guess, in some places. I don't know if it was nuclear or natural type of disaster there, but the game doesn't really feel that post-apocalyptic anyway. So it's because it's got
Mhm.
robots in it. It's kind of sci-fi elements in it. So yeah, no, I mean not really much to talk about. It's got to be really played, experienced that stuff, and it's got the voice commands
Connect voice commands?
out of all things. No, not. I mean, I think it can probably do the connect, but if you use your Xbox headset, you could do voice commands on that thing. And for I think a good 75, 80%, it works. Yeah. It's just like basic like one word command, so it's not really in depth, but it's interesting rather than kind of save you like a button or two to command your squad. And it has this sort of kind of trust level system where if you say things, it'll influence your other squad members that you have. So if you have kind of negative uh, a negative level with them, then they won't really follow your commands, and sometimes it's kind of a little not too vital, but sometimes it kind of helps if every now and then like cover me or shoot that guy or um,
For God's sake, stop shooting me, please!
like reload that gun or something because there are some segments where you take down these big
Examine that trash can. I want to know what's in there.
exactly, and they won't even do it, those bastards. Just small things like that. Doesn't really get too in depth or anything with any any sort of things you would see in Mass Effect, how things they talk to you in a different tone or things like that. So it's sort of a little tidbit of RPG in there, and go to these different uh, little mechanical or electronic shops you pass by every now and then when you're shooting up robots to upgrade your weapons and buy some health packs or grenades, things like that. So you can give them to your squad, and you can get different squad members throughout the campaign. You meet up with a group of the other people that are working to take out some group of robots, and they also go into some not really full out on discussing it, but it's kind of fucked up some moments where some people actually I guess the way it goes with the story is that some company in China is has the ability to make robots that look like humans, and that's sort of one of those things that in the games world is, I guess, is outlawed or something. So they're gonna call them the Hollow Children or Scrap Heads, as and it's pretty. There's some pretty good scenes with some of the some people that find out that they're like robots and things like that. It like really gets into kind of that aspect of what it means to be human and things like that. I mean, they don't really say, but that's what I felt about it.
That's
Kind
perfect. I mean, I love that type of science fiction where it's like, okay, what does it mean to be human? The question of identity and humanity. That's what I love.
it has
So
that underlying theme to it, but I never really go into it because it's kind of more of a they're going for, and they know it is like this B action movie with robots in it, and there's some funny moments in that game too. I haven't laughed that hard in a game since Barkley Shut Up and Jam. There's some pretty good scenes there. I don't know if I should link you to one of the scenes, but I thought that was pretty funny. But with one of your squad members, Big Bo, the big black man.
I have seen reviews of the game, and I have seen a couple of scenes of Bo, and yeah, he seems like a pretty funny comic relief character.
Yeah, that he is. That he is. And yeah, you mix and match different squad mates that you encounter, which is pretty cool. You get a French robot. French
A
robot.
French robot.
That's
Ooh.
right.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That
Oh
is,
la la, monsieur. I'm gonna shoot that robot.
yeah, snooty Americans, I will shoot your head off.
Yeah, and these go to the two guys like Big Bo and what is the other guy's name? But the other guy that's with them, they always get into these get kind of conflicting clashes with the other squad members. They kind of see them as jokes, but they get the job done. And you Yankees always making up noise and things like that. It's always going into that territory. It's like,
Like, oh, I'm sorry. Who's won 2 world wars? That's right. It's us.
yeah, a British guy, and then that one girl from China, and the other British gal, and some of the stuff they say is kind of nudging you with this what the developers think of us Americans than the Japanese developers.
Okay, you know what?
Oh,
When,
it's making
when
up.
you have dictated the world's course of events for more than 60 years, you can make some, interesting claims about us.
No, it's pretty funny, but
Yeah.
I think I don't know how far I am from beating it, but I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's a cool third-person shooter. It reminds me a lot of the way the game looks. Reminds me a lot of Vanquish, and
Oh, really? Cool.
yeah, it doesn't play like Vanquish, but kind of the game looks pretty good. It doesn't look that bad. That's all
Yeah.
I can really say. But that these robots third-person shooter game. I gotta play more of it to see what it's all about. They don't really delve into a lot of the kind of the overall scope of things, which I find interesting. But it doesn't really seem to be the game that wants you to care about the story. It's just more of shooting shit. So
It's just the background of
it's a fun game. I'll give it that.
Well, excellent. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about Binary Domain, and I'm really glad that it's been harder for video games to kind of have their second and third tier sort of video game releases kind of get as much attention as they have been recently getting in this year. Like we have Binary Domain, we have we have Spec Ops: The Line, we have something like The Walking Dead, even getting usually like through the main distribution method of just the retails. of retail stores where you would just kind of get the big games of like maybe the Halos or the Half-Lives or the Call of Duties, and that would just be kind of the game of the year, or like Legend of Zelda, or one of the big franchises. But nowadays we seem to also be like sharing a lot of appreciation with sort of the lower tiered games that are being released, and it warms the cockles of my heart to know that we have a group of people more than happy to point out games that kind of went under the radar that should get another look at, and IGN, XPlay, Destructoid. They've all pointed out that like, yeah, this is a pretty good game. It's not top tier, but if you got a few moments of your time and you want to check something out that you haven't seen before, then check out Binary Domain.
Yeah, it's just a thing that what sticks out about it is just it's fun. That's
Mhm.
what has caught my attention most is fun. Doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just there to entertain you. That's all about it. If you like, kind of B action movies that have, interesting, cheesy characters and robots, then I don't know what kind of person are you if you're not gonna find that enjoyable. And
You're dead if you don't find that enjoyable.
yeah, you're in a
You are literally your
vegetative state.
pulse has stopped many years ago if you don't think that is an enjoyable experience. Even people who are recently dead enjoy that.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. You like I said, it really does vary the amount of ways to go about killing these robots because you can attack certain limbs that will take them out, or just shoot them in the head, or just take their legs out. And if they're like a group, sometimes they just throw you a hell of a lot of robots in one level, and it's just it's easier to shoot some of the legs off, and then they're still alive. They'll keep calling to you, and you can like smash them in the head or shoot them in the head, but that'll kind of eliminate less of the hassle of taking out such a huge amount of robots just by shooting them all in the legs, just taking the legs out. It kind of has that sort of Dead Space thing where you're taking out certain limbs.
Take out the limbs. You take out the target.
Exactly. What makes it more makes it more easier to manage the large amount of robots. If you shoot some of them in the leg, and you can shoot some of them in the head, and then you see them all tearing apart, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All the pieces fall off. It's just awesome. I mean, especially the big kind of bigger boss robots are really fun to play and shoot at, and see them just fall apart as you're taking out and shooting the certain limbs, and see those things all going sky high and things like that. It's just really, really awesome game. I think it's definitely going to be one of those it's going to be
Favorites.
cult favorites, and the games that didn't really necessarily get a lot of attention. That's certainly one there that is definitely worth a check. Definitely worth looking into if you haven't played it yet. I still have a couple of games that I haven't played from this year that I'm looking to start by the beginning of the year, while some other games come out for the next year, like that. And Alpha Protocol, I did play that.
Ooh, yeah. That how was that one? I've really good things
yeah,
about it
I
in
mean,
terms of the role playing aspect.
yeah, the role playing aspect is good. I remember back when they first announced that game. I think it was E3, and the trailer was pretty good for it. And then, once the reviews came in, I didn't pick it up for very, for a couple of months, for a very long time actually. When that game came out, like last 2 years ago, something like that. So it took me this long to get it for the price of $2.
Ooh, nice. $2, $2.50.
And I was pleasantly surprised. Although I've said, well, to myself, that the game, it can be played in many ways. You can go in guns blazing or sneaking around. I think you can even take out some bosses sneaking around behind them and doing a takedown move with your martial arts. I haven't tested it out, but it plays a lot better as a stealth game than third person shooter. I think that The controls aren't that very good, but they're doable, and the cover system isn't that good either, and the AI is a little wonky at times. It kind of they always always running towards you, and you keep missing, and the shooting's sometimes not that good unless you kind of put points into whatever your weapons you're using, like a pistol or assault rifle. I put in a lot of points in those because the shooting sucks
Mhm.
in general because you have to like aim your gun at someone for a good amount of time, and while you're doing that, you have to wait till like the reticle turns red, and you can get a good amount of damage that way if you do that. But by the time it gets to there, you're probably already dead or shot up to shit, and help putting points into that, it certainly helps. Other than that, I'm one that will overlook the small things like that, and once you, like I said, you put in the points into that stuff, it makes the game a little bit less of a pain in the ass to play through. It's not that bad in terms of the shooting, but it's not great. It's mediocre at best. But the role playing aspect, I gotta say, is really good. I I've read and seen different videos on different outcomes, and really it is really amazing. Just the amount of directions the certain parts of the game can take by just your actions and things you say to different characters that will really affect the gameplay and the story. And speaking of games that made choices that really didn't completely live up to expectations, I think this one was a pleasant surprise in that aspect. I think it did a lot of things right in terms of feeling that your choices add some effect in the overall scope of things. Uh, if you play, but you're playing an agent in Michael Thornton for had this whole thing with the Alpha Protocol, which is sort of a
Mhm.
secret force or whatever or program that only I guess it's sort of the third echelon of this game, where only a few people know about it, and they kind of do secret operations that that's what kind of jump started my idea to do a kind of discussion on the whole Splinter Cell series in general. It's just the idea, which is I was thinking about that the trailer for Chaos 3, which is really good trailer, where
Oh,
Michael Ironside is narrating Sam Fisher. He's talking about he's a soldier, and if he gets caught, and no one's going to be able to come rescue him, so he's kind of on his own. And that because the third echelon is, if anything, were to happen to Sam, these the U.S. government will deny any involvement, so they kind of get into these sort of operations and situations that could really start some sort of war and things like that. And if just by them even being involved, but these kind of go in kind of on their own, and that's sort of what Alpha Protocol is as well. If these going in as an agent, as an operative, not under the U.S. government, so doing these secret operations, and it's interesting because there are some characters that you can form an allegiance with, and then later on in some levels they'll help you with some levels. Like, let's say I ended up not killing somebody, and ended up kind of befriending them in a way, and the next you never know when they're going to show up, but sometimes when they show up they'll have like some reinforcements with you, and that really helps because the shooting, like I said, not that great, and you sometimes have to shoot your way out of things, and it's nice to have some backup because you let one guy uh, live,
mhm.
which is interesting. And I'm curious to. It's one of those games I want to replay again and make different choices to see what happens if I just be a dick to everybody. And you can, and it doesn't really. The game doesn't really follow you for that, but there are consequences if you do that. As life is if you be a dick. Uh, this is not really. There's not really black and white in that game. It's very gray on a lot of the choices and the way you interact with characters. It's it shapes the way your story. If you want to be a suave, cool spy, then you could definitely do that. Or I played it where I try to form allegiances with everyone as I can because I needed all the help I could get, pretty much. And it was cool to see that pay off with some levels that you're your sources that you ended up forming allegiance with will help you out with some things, like give you intel on certain other people, or a detailed map of where things are that are of interest, or just backup in general. Is like shooting your way out of some areas. It's just very interesting. You can buy intel and get more information on certain characters and use it against them to manipulate your own benefits. And it's just really interesting that it's a really well done RPG in that aspect, with just the conversation system, where you have to make certain decisions right in a certain amount of seconds, and the way you speak to people will have this.
It sounds like the Walking Dead kind of conversational system, except now in a spy context.
It
Where it's
kind
like
of
you
is,
have to make your decisions pretty immediately, or else you're gonna face the consequences.
mm-hmm. And they kind of give you a little display where it says like they give you a +1 liked or -1 dislike, which is interesting to see. And each character reacts differently with how you say. If you're talking to a guy that's very professional, and you're acting like this suave guy, you probably will kind of not really like you that much, or not
Not think highly of you.
will not really say certain things that can benefit you unless you do it another way. Sometimes I played it that way, where I could just, the way the characters present themselves, I try to see if I can get them to like me and help me out in future missions in any capacity. So I kind of, the people I was sent to kill, I let them live without the knowledge of my superiorities. And the whole story is they end up betraying him. So, and he has to find out why they betrayed him and things like that. It's an interesting story. It's pretty good. Voice acting's good. All that RPG elements is all good. It's just the shooting and AI and things like that aren't the best. But if you can play through it, it's really a good game, and experience through and replay multiple times. I am really interested in replaying it again and seeing what other outcomes or different dialogue options are available, and what other characters say that I didn't do the first time through.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but how would you compare it as an RPG to, say, Mass Effect and Witcher 2? Because I know Mass Effect is something that you happen to harp on just like a little bit when when you were discussing it with me. But how do you feel about that compared to Witcher 2 as kind of a?
Well, in The Witcher 2, you were given dialogue options, but for some some small parts, it did end up affecting how the game played, or some of the story beats. But it really wasn't one of those type of games that was. It wasn't like a choose your own story type of game with The Witcher. It had a couple of different different alternative scenes if you chose certain things, but it wasn't really that type of game that would go, you get this much amount of endings, like 16 endings, which I heard that's the case, but I haven't seen that much of the. I guess the way I see it, is if you say 16 different endings, I think if you play the game a certain amount of different ways, I think it's definitely a certain different type of experience every time you play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's sort of the case of Protocol. If you could play it differently and go for it, suave spy, and it is different because it ends with it could the end of the game ends with I think you on a boat driving off into the sunset, and I've seen videos where it's just different people with you on the boat. It could be in 1, 2, just the way it all plays out prior to the end is all very different. There were some instances where certain characters died and I didn't even know they were there. You can let's say one of the things that happened was I romanced a journalist that I've been in contact with. After every mission, you can access your email.
You silver-tongued devil.
That's right. And you can send her certain information that you got on a mission, and she'll pay you, and then it also will affect how she perceives you. So she'll, definitely like you more because you're giving her something to work with, all the information you get, and going back and forth with different contacts you've met through email and things like that. And they also have benefits as well by giving you access to different guns and things like that. And the near the end, you go back to the place that you were trained and things like that with Alpha Protocol, and I've seen videos and it's very different from my experience. So that's why I say that it could definitely be a different ending, because it's the way you got to that ending was certainly different than what I did from the videos that I saw. Which you confront the main guy that screwed you over, and then you could choose to shoot him or not shoot him, and have him face this the law, the justice, the
Listen, if he's going to be facing down Judge Judy, I think you might be doing him a favor if you just put a bolt in his head right now.
right. And then no, I think I let him live, and then he is going to get trialed and all that thing. And then before before, when I let him live, I got shot, and it ended up being the reporter, and she said that she was an assassin hired by that guy. And then
What?
I managed to get myself out of it by saying, "Can you even trust this guy? Hasn't even paid you yet?" And it's like, wait, oh, yeah, when are you gonna pay me? And then she shoots him. It's like, whoa, this is awesome. And then I saw a different video where if you find the girl in a room before you talk to the main guy, she'll tell you she's an assassin. And she can work with you to go through the whole motion of taking out the guards, and then the final end with the main guy. So it varies. It varies, or you can not even run into her at all, and then this kind of Q contact character that that she helps you out throughout the game. She gets captured, and then I didn't even know where to find her, and then she ended up getting killed. But you could find her and save her, and then she'll be on the the ending cinematic with you. So it varies. It really varies. Oh boy, that's a lot. So
Yeah, it sounds like one of those films. I'm sorry, not films. It sounds like one of those games that really, like, while the gameplay is rough around the edges and it's probably not as polished as it should be, it does offer a large variety, and I think it's kind of similar to Binary Domain, that it's probably going to be like a cult hit with a lot of people who enjoy good spy tales and enjoy good RPGs that give them flexibility with what they can choose for the story.
yeah, I think that game is terribly underrated. I will not go out on the record and say it's a 9 out of 10 game. I think it's a solid 6 or 7.
Mhm.
But overall, if you play for the RPG elements more than the if you're going thinking it's a third person shooter, you're gonna be very disappointed. But if you go in playing it as this is an RPG with third person shooter mechanics in it, well, they're not great, but you can certainly invest some points to do it. And I try to stealth my way through the game. Sometimes I did a pretty good job, and other times I didn't. You could definitely be a ghost in that game, and take out some dudes or just walk by past them, and proceed on to the mission at hand and grab any information you get. And it plays well like that. I think I had more fun playing it as a stealth game than a shooter. But sometimes I don't know if you can. I think you can take out some bosses in the stealth way. I don't know if you can completely go guns blazing, but I'm not very good enough for taking out bosses the stealth way. But I think it could be done. I think it could be done. I haven't seen a video. I haven't seen any videos of it being done like that, but I'm assuming it can. But I think if you go in thinking it's an RPG, I think you'll get a hell of a lot out of it. As in terms of RPG, I think it does a good job of providing I think a good amount of replay value, because it definitely some alternate scenes and different dialogue that gets said in terms of how you deliver your lines, and I think it's a lot more straightforward. Of you kind of get a good idea what the character's going to say than other games do, where you're not really sure exactly. Sometimes they'll end up saying something that you did not want them to say, and with the Alpha Protocol, it's pretty blunt about it. It could either have it can have it say blunt, or suave, or or fuck off, things like that, and depending on the situation. But it's pretty. You get a pretty good idea what kind of how they're gonna react to certain characters. And yeah, I mean, I certainly would like to play it a different way, maybe like a badass or a dick, and see what happens if I have no allies at all because no one likes me. So I want to see what happens. I think it'll change the way that you play the game depending on how you treat some people. It definitely does because I don't know how I could have gone through some missions without the help that I did get from some people that I ended up forming some allegiance with. It is very interesting RPG, and I think they did a good job on that aspect, and I think doesn't I don't think it deserved the critical pan that it did get.
Yeah.
It's certainly one of those underlooked, and I think it's very underrated.
Well, all right then. Looks like everybody out there who's listening has a game to put on their list of games I got to get to eventually, and it sounds like you've definitely discovered one of those that RPG fans are sure to enjoy, and that people who are spy fans as well can jump on board with.
It is fantastic. I think it's got a lot of things right more than wrong. His voice acting is pretty good, and I like the varied choices they can go about. I don't know. I don't know how people play RPGs, but I think the way if you want to play it as a dick, you could definitely do it. But like I said, there are consequences.
That's probably gonna be me. I'll be like, "Will you please take this nuclear bomb outside of this town?" Sure, I'll put it in the orphanage first.
Yeah, but make those kind of sarcastic jokes like that, and get a dislike point for that.
Like, well, we didn't really appreciate you doing that, putting the explosives and the C4 inside the old folks' home. But yeah, at least you didn't destroy the country. So good on you for that.
I got my mission done, Dick.
Oh, that is beautiful. But
It's a cool game.
now that we're talking about underrated games of the year, are there any more that kind of cross your mind there right now?
Underrated. Well, definitely. We've already discussed Deadly Premonition as a very underrated game, but I don't even know if it's underrated anymore because a good amount of people who have played it most of have really liked it, and people who have a certain perception of it might not like it for it them thinking it's one thing and then it being another. But if you know what kind of the game is going in, I think you get a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely does not deserve the review that IGN gave it. I think.
But then again, it's IGN. You can't spell ignorance without IGN.
Classic IGN joke. But
yep.
No, I mean, yeah, I think that one would probably fall under there. Alpha Protocol is definitely one that's underrated. I don't know. You happen to have any games that you think are underrated? I know you have your gripes with Half-Life 2 being overrated.
Oh yeah. But I'm trust me, I could go on several tangents of that game alone. But I'm going to focus mostly on 2012 of the games that I think were overlooked, or at least are not as remembered as some of the bigger releases, and just to get them off my chest, and just talking about them. And we have the big games like Dishonored and Halo 4 and Mass Effect 3, but I want to talk about two of the smaller ones at least, or even some of the even smaller ones than that. But let's talk about one of the first ones that I really enjoyed early this year, which was The Darkness 2, which was a sequel to the original The Darkness from the Xbox 360 and PS3, where it's the first one was developed by Starbreeze, the guys who made the Chronicles of Riddick games, and it's actually a really good game, and that game was fantastic. It did very, very well with all the story, the gameplay, but especially the tone of just being overbearingly nihilistic. But there's something about it which saves it, which is just this a relationship between Jackie and Jenny, which is just so human and so honest and genuine. It's so loving that that's the kind of driving point for the entire story. And in the Darkness 2, I thought they really did tick it up a notch. I love the gameplay in this one. You could quad wield as their a hot button word, where you got like both bumpers and the triggers working as your weaponry and arms, and it's the gameplay is really good, and it also tells this very interesting tale of escapism and whether or not this guy is actually dreaming this whole situation to cope with his kind of real life, which has gone off the deep end, and he's just trying to think of some way to cope with it, which is absolutely beautiful. I love that, the fact that there's actually a lot of games this year in particular which really question gameplay and narrative drive for typical video game stories. And the other one I'm going to talk about really, really soon. But The Darkness 2 is a great game. I love the co-op is good, and I like the fact that you can also play it single player if you want. The Vendetta mode, and it's just really well done, a well crafted game, and I hope they make a sequel for it. Just because I would love to see how this entire story finishes off. And frankly, I just love everybody from the game. And one of my favorite characters of this year is Johnny Powell in The Darkness 2, where he's psychotic and crazy, but he's absolutely loyal to you. So it's obvious that there's something wrong with this guy, but you need him. And strangely enough, he's completely loyal to you throughout the entire mission. Like, he doesn't want to be a part of this because he's at the same time attracted and repulsed by the darkness. But he just is so fascinated by it. He wants to study it, but he's loyal to you as the main character of Jackie Estacado. So like, that's just a fascinating character that I really found was one of the standouts of this year. And I really am looking forward to what they do with the next entry in the series if they do so.
Yeah, other than I've heard The Darkness 2 was pretty good, and I think one of those underrated ones as well that is worth a look. I got that on good old Amazon wishlist. I think the only one that comes to mind, Sleeping Dogs, was pretty underrated. I know it's been on some people's lists, but it's not a terribly underrated, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not going to be on everybody's like best of the year. It's going to be like just barely miss it below the the big games of this year.
Exactly. It's definitely worth a look. It does a lot of things right with the open world action genre. It doesn't do anything really new, but it does mostly everything right, and doesn't really have a lot of annoying parts that these open world games usually tend to have, mostly with its checkpoints, I think. But in other things that might, if you could think of whatever frustrates you in an open world game, that Sleeping Dogs doesn't really have that. I think it's overall really well rounded game I think it's got good pacing and interesting take on the first couple hours where you don't even have a gun in the game. You kind of just fighting with your fists.
Yeah, I just love the fact that it was obviously going to be problematic with the publishing rights, just because it was originally going to be a true crime game, and then they decided to to drop that game, even though it was very, very close to finish in terms of the build that they were going for, and then it was just picked up by was it picked up by THQ or was it picked up by Square Enix?
It's Square Enix.
Yeah, where they picked it up and darn it if it's not a good game that from what I've been hearing, and it's absolutely wonderful that they have a publisher who's willing to take a chance on a property that they weren't sure if it was going to sell, if it was still a popular, viable entry, and they're not even using the franchise's name, so which is surprising enough. So it just good on them for trying that out.
No, it's a fine game, well rounded. If you like the Hong Kong action movies, you definitely like that game, and it's got a lot of good things going forward. And yeah, it did not need the true crime name. It wouldn't have gotten me to buy it regardless if it had the true crime name, because It's not gonna have anything to do with true crime. It's just the name of it in general. It's just like putting a name to something that is associated with some past games, but it's just it doesn't even make sense. The true crime, putting a true crime name on it.
Yeah,
Like you could have made that True Crime 2 game. You could have put a different name to it. It doesn't,
yeah. Well,
it's just that because it had True Crime on it.
it's
It
like a Pavlovian response of like if somebody hears that it's part of a franchise that like even if it's a franchise they're not even involved with, they'll immediately perk them and say, "Oh, it's part of that franchise, huh?"
I mean, the first True Crime, it was is one of those. It had a take on action movies where it didn't take itself too seriously and it had interesting, crazy story. And, by the middle act of the game, it got nuts
Hmm.
with dragons. But it
That's
was a
just
fun game.
like a shootout with dragons underneath the Chinese restaurant. Like, what is up with that game? It was just like the writers were just like, well, we don't know how to finish the story. I know, let's put in dragons.
Yeah, dragons, and then Snoop Dogg when you beat the game.
Snoop, Snoop, Hizzledy Bizzledy,
So,
or whatever the hell he says. I don't know these days. He's now Snoop Lion, I guess. Maybe that'll be DLC for Sleeping Dogs, where you get to play a Snoop Lion.
yeah. Well, Sleeping Dogs, I think it came out at a time when there really wasn't anything out. I think that's what helped it out the most. I think if you put a game out when there's nothing out, I think it'll do well. Pretty much. If it's
Yeah,
like,
there's
it was like they're trying to dry spell of a couple of months where nothing really big was out, and then that came out in I think it was August. I think it was August it came out.
yeah, and then you have another game like Saints Row the Third, which not even close to the same release date. So like when you have an open world game by itself, you're pretty much the only competition. You are pretty safe in terms of getting a lot of people to pay attention to your game.
Yeah, if it comes out at a time when there's nothing out, and if it's a good game, it'll do well.
Hmm.
It will do well. So,
Yes, indeed. So yeah,
yeah,
and then
that's.
uh,
I mean that, and I know you've spoken a little bit about Spec Ops: The Line. That's
yes,
one of the underrated ones, but I haven't checked out yet.
Spec Ops: The Line. Like the problem is that it suffers the same problem as I would say Alpha Protocol does, where the gameplay is nothing to brag about or to write home about. Where it's basically just it's standard third person cover fare, where it's Gears of War and yeah, with the kind of tonal, at least in the beginning, the tonal quality of Call of Duty, where it's yeah, rah rah, you and your buddies are yeah Americans, yeah, gutting into this country and killing foreigners because they're bad. But then you start to slowly realize, oh my God, these people are actually the victims in this entire thing. We're not. What, are we doing the right thing? And then as you push further and further into the storyline, like the gameplay is completely is good.
Hmm.
It's good and it's enjoyable. It's not anything spectacular though. And when you start to get into the story, you start to see this unraveling of this logic that this captain uses to justify all of his and his squad's rationale for all this for all these uh, for really just for all of the slaughter that they've been causing, and it starts out like, oh, okay, we just need to identify different types of we need to identify like survivors, then get out, and then like they see something else and they say, okay, we can't leave the survivors here because we have to find out like something about the 33rd, which was the kind of platoon station in Dubai before it got hit by a huge sandstorm, which is why you're there just to assess the casualty list and to get survivors out. And then the more you get into the story, the more problematic it becomes. Like, okay, we can't even do that. We got to go further and further. And the more you do that, the more you see this really messed up morality. And it's absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. And frankly, it is one of those it's up there with I don't know whether this or The Walking Dead affected me more emotionally with the story it told. Just because this one I was expecting a Call of Duty knockoff because I didn't expect a lot of I thought the Heart of Darkness stuff was just going to be kind of um was going to be kind of ancillary and just like, oh look, it's something bad. Oh no, like, and then just like keep going back to killing thousands of people, in a day. But this is more of just like, what do your actions really mean? What, like, in the end, do they actually hold true to your to the beliefs that you hold dear? And it's really just a spectacular game and a story that I wouldn't be surprised, it stands the test of time, just because it's not only a great commentary on video games like first-person shooters and these military shooters that put you in the role of this almost jingoistic American soldier slaughtering hundreds of people, but also just as a commentary on our modern-day politics and where we are as a culture right now in invading these different lands that we have no right being there. And it really is a great game.
God damn. That's the shame, because with some games, like Spec Ops: The Line, I'll admit, I wasn't one that was on my radar. I've seen gameplay of it, and was not interested at all, because it's certainly, I don't really put the blame on the game for what it is entirely for it not interesting me. It's just that it's been one of these years, or maybe it's always kind of been like this for the past couple of years, where there are games that you get an impression about them. You see, either trailers or video, clips on it, and you either decide whether you're interested in it or not. And it's not until you actually, play it later on the road when it's cheaper, because you start to hear little tricklings about the game being pretty good, and then you realize that, God damn, this is a hidden gem.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those games that I really hope picks up steam as time goes by, and they had the Destructoid bump with a Deadly Premonition and a little bit with Enslaved, but I would love to see this going down the line and people picking it up just because they're interested in a very interesting story. And I certainly hope actually that the Call of Duty developers look at this game and start saying to themselves, okay, we need to actually step it up in terms of story. Like, I know Black Ops 2 was at least somewhat in the right direction of where they should go, and it was a little bit more engaging. And I like the fact that they used Merle from The Walking Dead as one of the voice actors, which is nice. But But I definitely think that we need to at least start put a little bit more emphasis on thought-provoking games these days.
Well, at least they did some small things differently in that one, so they maybe going in slightly better direction.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where if you see maybe a clip or gameplay of Deadly Premonition, you may not get the best impression on it. It's certainly one of those things you got to play from the beginning, and then you get an idea of what the game is like, and it really grabs hold of you in the beginning. With a whole monologue of York talking about Tom and Jerry being codependent. I don't know if that doesn't get you engrossed into the game. I don't know what will.
Exactly. It really is. That scene right there is just indicative of the entire game, just because not only is York calmly talking about something, kind of a disturbing subject matter, or like a much deeper and controversial subject matter. Oh, gosh darn it! Get the freak away from me! Okay, sorry. Damn, I'm popping up these other websites trying to find something. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find web news at these days of anything that's going on in video games? Nothing is going on. From the 24th from December 24th until January 5th. You might as well be closed for business. Anyway, looking up Spec Ops: The Line, and not to mention I'm also a big fan of Jamie Lee Curtis, so I might have a sex tape up here somewhere. But just going on. For Spec Ops: The Line, I'm sorry, were we talking about Spec Ops: The Line or something else?
No, well, Deadly Premonition.
Oh, sorry, Deadly Premonition. And we were talking about the fact that they got the Deadly Premonition bump in Destructoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just really, really happy that at least we're putting a lot more emphasis on that, and that we're getting a lot more emphasis on the smaller games going out there now.
Yeah, this year was definitely a good year for downloadable games.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost say that downloadable games did a lot better this year than what we had for the retail market, because we had Mass Effect 3, which was a great game, but the ending was problematic to say the least, and even with the extended cut, it was a little bit hindered. Dishonored, which was a good experiment in stealth, and it was a good game. It was a great game. I'm playing it myself, and it's fantastic.
Mm.
Spec Ops: The Line, which is, oh my god, I love that game. We have Halo 4 as well, and that's a great game as well. It's an interesting year when Halo 4 when a Halo game isn't my favorite game of the year. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask you too because I know you've been playing it and it shows up on the. I know we put it in our gamer tags for the show notes, and then I was looking back on the past episode we did, and I saw that you were playing Halo 4. So
yeah,
that I know that I've talked about Hitman already, but you definitely, if you want to get into some Halo 4, I'm sure you're digging the hell out of that.
oh yeah, trust me. If you know me, you know that I love the Halo franchise with an unbridled passion. I think it is one of the best franchises out there in terms of gameplay and atmosphere. And what I love about Halo 4 is that it is, done by 343 Industries, which took over after Bungie left to go pursue their new IP. And I think what they did a very smart thing, which was the Halo started by Bungie had a certain tone to it and had a certain uh, had a certain aspect to it, which kind of carried through from the first Halo Combat Evolved in Halo Reach, which was kind of humanity on the precipice of destruction, and that they had to really stand together, or really they would be torn apart. And what Halo 4 does is pretty smartly is that humanity it's the complete inverse, where humanity is kind of at the top of their game. They're now becoming the leaders of this galactic push for dominance. And the enemy in this case of Halo 4 is not the Flood, which kind of wants to assimilate everything just because it believes that everything will eventually be assimilated by the Flood and will be contributed into their structure. But it's actually an enemy who recognizes humanity's nobility and their respect and the respect for their genetic lineage, which is very, very interesting. And I really do like that, and I like the fact that Cortana and Master Chief have a lot more character development to them than was given throughout the entirety of the Halo series under Bungie. And I think the dialogue is much better. It's a lot more subtle and layered. And then you have such things as like the gameplay is really fine tuned. They don't like do a lot of like the Ratchet and Clank or Jack and Daxter kind of weapons where they're just like experimenting with fun weapons and like weapon balance be damned. Well, we're having fun. Like this is fine tuned and it works really well. Everything is balanced to a mirror sheen. Like every weapon works very, very well. And I really was impressed with the end result of Halo 4. However, Halo 4 was not my game of the year.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Halo 4 was an absolutely astonishing game. I like, if you pick it up, you will not regret it. But it is certainly not even close to being the game that I think was the most important game of the year, nor not just like the best game of the year in terms of interaction. Because we
Yeah.
also downloadable games for this year, where we have I Am Alive, Cinemora, Alan Wake's American Nightmare, Mark of the Ninja, Journey, The Walking Dead, Dust, and Elysium Tale, and these games. It's just amazing that these in this day and age we have video games which are not only downloadable games, which are not only a fraction of the price of major retail games, but are also beating them in terms of quality. I mean, Alan Wake's American Nightmare is better than the entirety of Alan Wake. You have Mark of the Ninja, which is a great stealth game, which is right alongside Dishonored in terms of how much fun you'll have trying to be stealthy. And then to come to what my pick of the year is, which is The Walking Dead, which is a really moving point-and-click adventure game where you have an incredible cast of characters, great dialogue, great pacing, writing, and it is for those of you out there wondering, it is the best entry into the Walking Dead franchise, including the comic books and the TV show. It has the action-paced tempo of the TV show, but the characterization of the comics without having to sacrifice, without having to incorporate that overwhelming nihilism that's in the comic books. Where in the comic books, when you're reading it, even just reading one trade issue, it's like, oh my god, I can't bear to see this anymore, just because it's so tragic. It's so sad that like, nothing good happens here, or anything good that does happen is eventually replaced with just terror and horror and just the worst possible things imaginable for these people to face. And it really is it's just really tragic. And so but The Walking Dead walks that fine line of saying, okay, this is a tragic world, but there is hope. Uh, there is that little speck of beauty and brilliance in the world that can't be extinguished, or will always exist no matter how tragic things get. And that is the beauty of this game. And it really is one of the games that brought me to tears a few times, just because of how well it was written and just how surprising things are. I don't think that it will be as effective when you play through it a couple of times, but then again, that is kind of the staple mark of video games. It doesn't exactly surprise you when you play through it every time, but just the story decisions and how everything works out, and it, like, the overall plot, the macro plot of everything, that is basically the same. You'll always go to these locations, you'll always meet this group of characters, but it's the tiny micro decisions that you make which really affect how you perceive the world and how the characters perceive you, which really makes it interesting and endearing. And so The Walking Dead just has great characters. I love Lee Everett. I love Clementine. I love just every single character that came along. Even characters I didn't like, I at least understood their plight. And so that's why I say The Walking Dead is my game of the year, just because it is interactive storytelling at its very best.
God damn.
God damn indeed.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that I would definitely enjoy. I have the first episode. That was free on Xbox a couple of days ago. The first episode. I haven't played it yet, but heard nothing but good things. I kind of spoiled myself because I was watching Dr. J's videos on that, so I kind of watched like the last episode. So I'm sure I'm still enjoying regardless. Prior to that.
Well, just make sure that you don't spoil anything else, just because it's so good by just going out and making sure that you just enjoy everything fresh, because there are plot twists in there which that will take your breath away. It's how they're stacked up.
Yeah, I didn't know much of the characters, but what happened at the end? It was pretty rough too. So it got me to tears, and I didn't even know any of the characters.
It it is one of those games where that absolutely you might need to take a break after a while, just because of how incredibly exhausted you'll feel after playing the game. Just like, oh man, I can't handle this. I don't want to see any more of these people go through so much trauma and tribulation. But it's so well written and so beautiful that I can't do anything but recommend the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not really one of those games where you have a variety of endings that could happen. It's kind of leads down the kind of one path, but it's sort of one of those things where you're leading up to that, but I think everyone's kind of has some slightly different experiences, leading up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking on, just when I was thinking about Alpha Protocol, because you can technically say there are these kind of multiple endings, because if you play each game from beginning to end, that's one ending, and then the other playthrough is another. Just the way you lead up to that ending, it's very different, just depending on what you do. And I didn't even mention there was like a character in that character or two game I didn't even meet in that game. They didn't play any part, because I don't know how I missed them, but there are two characters in there that I see that I could have gotten for the last mission, and I couldn't pick them because I didn't even meet them. I don't even know how I missed it. It was weird.
Yep. Uh,
That's the type of kind of open-ended RPG type of games I would like to play. I only got that taste of Wrath of Protocol, but and I'm going off topic with that. But
good too.
still, Walking Dead is good.
Walking Dead is great. For those of you out there who have not played the game yet, please do. It is fantastic and it is now free on Xbox Live. So go out there and get downloading.
Yeah, the first episode. I want to give off false advertisement. The first episode, I believe, I think up until the end of the month. So get cracking on that before that gets revoked. That first episode. So that'll end up being about $20 for like the rest after the first episode. It's like $5 an episode.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap, but
You get a lot out of it. Yeah.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that I heard that there's also the retail version, but apparently the retail version has been getting a lot of bugs lately.
Has it?
Yeah, it's just or reports of bugs being there. So buyers beware. Digital might be the best bet if you are going for a cheaper price. Maybe retail's better. I don't know. I've just been kind of hearing about this. So whatever the case may be.
That or bug spray. I had to go with that.
Get in there and just like spray it down. Like, oh, I don't know why it's steaming like that. I just put some bug spray in there.
Well, I think to continue on the discussion, we've kind of been talking about sort of the better games for this year, and it's definitely the ones that have been underlooked, for this year, and definitely for, I don't know, past 2 years with Alpha Protocol. I brought that up. I did. I don't know if I'll get into that, but I will say that I did beat Castlevania: Lords of Shadows. That game I've been meaning to finish for the past few months, and I've listened to a podcast, and they always kept mentioning it. It's like I gotta finish this thing, and then I was very, very, very surprised at the quality of that game, even up all the way up until the end where you fight. What do you fight? I think you fight the devil.
Oh, very nice.
I'm trying to remember if it was the devil, but something like that. It was a pretty awesome battle there, and then it's got me more excited for the Castlevania 2, Castlevania 2, sequel to Lords of Shadow.
Nice.
It is very is worth a look if you're into that type of gameplay, which is Devil May Cry, God of War sort of gameplay. I like it, but I'm not that great at it. But it takes some time to get used to the dodging of those other enemies, much like Bayonetta, which I was not good at. I think I got like a bronze statue every end of the level.
Hey, at least you got a statue. Like whenever I played, it would just be like it would just show up and be like, it would just like at the end of the level just have a stamp that said like, yeah, you at least tried. So go on to the next level before we change our minds.
Mm-hmm. And definitely ones to check out for this year that I think they've gotten a good amount of praise, and certainly people are checking that out, is FTL, and then the Hotline Miami are ones to check out still.
Oh yeah, Hotline Miami is one of those games that
did you beat it?
I'm sorry?
Did you beat it?
I did beat it over in Australia land. Thank you very much, Zaya, if you're listening. You have been more than... Oh, sorry. Put up Wise Man by Frank Ocean. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. My YouTube is going haywire at this point in time, but yeah.
We can't afford any copyright infringement here.
Maybe it was not Frank Ocean. Who knows? But, it was... I played Hotline Miami, and I just love the fact that it is just so bizarre, so weird. And the fact that for a large majority of the games, it questions whether or not even narrative is even important to what the character wants. And it really is just a it's an incredible game. Even just it's a fun game when you get down to it, just because it's all about you timing and making sure that you have a visceral experience when you're having it. And then when you kind of finish off level, you're just walking back and seeing all the carnage and bloodshed that you stirred up, and it just damn, it is just damn. That's how it's so badass. It just has me saying damn in terms of how violent and bloody it is. It really is kind of like a Quentin Tarantino film, just of how gory it is at points.
Damn, like Ron Simmons. Yeah, the game does remind me of a David Lynch film. That there's different interpretations for it. I certainly had my own interpretations of it, and then I read others'
Mm.
interpretations of it. That definitely, I didn't really entirely think about it. I did see little touches of that where you're talking about how the game sort of says that it's more about the game mechanics than the story that should influence I guess your how you play it and things like that. Like should be the standout thing that about the game, if I'm correct.
It really is so brilliant in the fact that it's all about
Breaking third walls. Breaking
uh,
third walls.
it, gosh, I don't even know how to explain the game except it's like it's a top down kind of Grand Theft Auto style game, but you are incredibly vulnerable, so you have to do timing just perfectly, and you're so enthralled in the moment of violence that you don't even think about what like how this relates to the story or how this even is justified, and it that really does add to the narrative that's telling later or lack thereof. And it's a very impressive game, and I got to say hats off to the developers. It was only like two guys who worked on the entire game with licensed music, and it was like, wow, that is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean there is a story if you really look deep into it. There's definitely you can interpret that thing a lot. But if if you're just looking to kill things, and you're good with that. But there is this sort of these moments where I think one of the guys are talking to you is like, "Do you enjoy killing?" And then it's like, "God damn!" I think and then you get into this whole thing about well, it was more about playing the game rather than me enjoying it, killing people. But I am enjoying it because it's a good game.
Absolutely, it was a great game, and I love the style to it. It's the 1980s hot pink and neon green sort of look to everything. Definitely is taking notes from Drive in terms of kind of the absolute audacious violence it has as well, incorporated into its style. But it is certainly one of those games that you cannot forget.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. It if not for the strange and many interpretation story, it's just for just the gameplay in general, it's just fun. It's addicting.
It, it's it's one of those things you will not regret buying and downloading for those who can handle that kind of mature content. And it is so much fun in terms of just challenging yourself to do so, but it also carries with it a nice sense of style and pacing.
Mm.
It's something that a lot of games could learn from.
Oh, it was the honorable mention in my top 5 games list.
Yep, yep.
It was very close to getting in the list.
It's one of those games that just so polished that it can't help but be nominated for at least something, as well as the fact that I gotta say, hats off to the ladies and gentlemen who have been working on the Half-Life source mod of the original Half-Life game called Black Mesa, who showcase not only can fans create a game worthwhile of downloading that's in celebratory spirit of the original, but sometimes can be better than the original and the sequel put together.
God damn,
That's a good game.
some bold words.
Bold
Bold.
words for a bold man.
Mm, I like it.
So yeah, so that's kind of our games of the year, or the games that we want to talk about. Do you want to talk about any more? Or yeah, I know The Witcher 2 is definitely up there in terms of what we kind of what we liked about this year.
Yeah, it was certainly that was one of my favorite ones of this year. I enjoy the hell out of it. If you can bang a female minotaur, I think that's certainly game of the year material.
I mean, what else? If you really, if you put that into a movie, you'd honestly win Best Picture of the Year. I mean, how do you think Halle Berry got her nomination and award?
Mhm.
Come on, you got to have a good sex scene, or else it doesn't sell. That's what the King's Speech really needed, and it didn't do it. But the Academy doesn't care, and why should we?
We shouldn't. Now I was trying to remember if I had any other games that I wanted to discuss that came out this year. Other than nah, not really, but I know there's definitely other ones, but I didn't. I probably already talked about them. Hitman and the Max Payne 3 was good. What else? God dang it, Mass Effect 3. Enjoy that.
Mass
Eh,
Effect was good, despite the fact that everybody did not like the ending, and it was not as John Moriarty said. It was not a vocal minority. It was the majority of people who did not enjoy the ending. It was one of those endings that made everyone stop and say, yeah, this is horseshit. What the hell's going on?" And while the validity and the rights of everybody to want or in a lot of cases demand an alternate ending are in question. It was at least it was at least interesting to talk about, and that was kind of one of the big things of the year of whether or not it would be artistic or to give in to people's demands and try to change the ending to suit people's needs, or or try, or in some people's cases, better what they've done. And Mass Effect 3, it's a great game. I will stand by that till the day I die. It is a great game.
Mass
That
Effect 2 is better.
well, Mass Effect 2 is better. Well, the thing is that Mass Effect 1 and 2, they don't have incredible endings because they rely on the fact that, oh yeah, we have better ending. We have kind of the penultimate ending coming up with Mass Effect 3. Although Mass Effect 1 had a pretty solid ending for the first one. The second one was like, oh, here comes the Reapers. They're a coming. And Mass Effect 3, I think, was it was a fantastically made game, but just damn it, they didn't stick the landing for that one, and that really hurts, especially for the fact that these are some of the best writers in the industry.
Yeah. No, no, I mean, the overall experience for Mass Effect 2 was great, and Mass Effect 3 had its moments, but it really didn't do anything new. It did everything right, what the past games have done. It slightly uh tweaked and made the combat a lot more better than 2 was, and had definitely had some really, I think, really good resolutions to some of the character stories. Now that I think about it, with Morden, and then things, how things could play out with the Geth and the Quarians, all that stuff. I think it all wrapped up really nice and well, except for the final stuff. But even with the Illusiman, I liked the stuff with the Illusiman. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Elusive Man stuff was great. I loved all the character stuff that they had there, and all the characters' endings. Although I just wish that they were able to make a better ending than what they had given. You
Yeah,
know?
I understand. That is definitely gonna be this the little thing there that's not gonna go away. That is always gonna be brought up with Mass Effect 3.
Of
And
course, it's kind of like I don't know, the water world. Like, yeah, a lot of money went into it, but damn it, if they didn't stick the landing with the execution.
yeah, it was fine. I'm not gonna go into that whole discussion again with Mass Effect 3. We can listen to the Mass Effect 3 review we did. That'll hold you over. We did like 2 hours on that thing.
We talked about it, but needless to say, I guess we're not going to be too interested in talking about Mass Effect 3 again, unless it's for maybe Mass Effect 3 retrospective when Mass Effect 4 comes out.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a fine, great game. If you know love the past two games, you're gonna love that. And if you, I'm just really curious on what people what people's impressions is on that game with when they download all the DLC and
Yeah.
things like that. And it just makes me, oh, it makes me just I don't know what it makes me, but it does not make me a happy camper knowing that this is what we've gone, this is what we come to with this generation of gaming. We have to rely on DLC
Yeah.
to and further enhance the game, whether just like goddamn like the old days where you just put in the game, that's what you got, and
Well,
no
I
DLC.
started out with EA's E3 conference was their opening salvo to the entire gaming population was 8 years ago. The game you bought is what you played. Why is that a bad thing? Well, because we want to sell more shit, and you're stupid enough to buy our crap. So, oh well, I guess that's a fine excuse, EA, because we're the gaming population is more than happy to shell out X amount of money for uh, DLC that really should not have been developed, or co-op or multiplayer that was crammed in there, and so I really hope that with whatever BioWare does next with their with their development cycle, if they go for a new IP or if they decide to do Mass Effect 4, that they really just focus on the fact that okay, people want a good, engrossing single player game with a great beginning, middle, and end, whether or not it's in a trilogy or not. Because hell, if and for let me go back to Halo 4 here for a second. Halo 4 I mean, it's obvious. It's starting a new. It's not obviously. It's starting a new trilogy with the Reclaimer saga. But the fact of the matter is that the Halo 4 it ends on a note where the series can be completely tied up at this point. I mean, there's no dangling threads. And what I love about it is that yeah, sure, there's some elements that open up to possible sequels, but everything that has been showcased in the game has been already addressed and finished. So honestly, you could end the series right there, and I would be more than happy. But with Mass Effect, they just it's not as bad as Assassin's Creed, which is something I'll get to later. But
Oh boy.
with Assassin's Creed 3, but but at least just have beginning, middle, and end for a story in one game at least. Maybe hinting to more, but just make it good. Just make it thematic. Just make it thematically related to everything that's going on, and don't have this weird out of left field crap nonsense that Casey Hudson pulled for Mass Effect 3. It doesn't work. It's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. I wanted to emphasize that I don't completely dislike DLC, but we've seen some great things come out of DLC. The Shadow Broker, best Mass Effect related DLC
Yeah.
to date. And but when it comes to DLC that is sort of vital, it should be in the actual disc. Like I've heard things about the Leviathan stuff, and then the Prothean stuff. You get a good amount of stuff out of it. That
The Prothean stuff was day one DLC, so that gives me the impression that okay, this stuff was ready to be put on the disc, but they wanted to keep it off just so that they can get people to buy new copies of Mass Effect 3.
hmm, that type of stuff I'm not a huge fan of. But if it's something that adds to the experience a lot more, like let's say the Assassin's Creed 3 DLC with the George Washington, that I'm fine with. And
Yep. Come out yet, so maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Who knows? But like for instance, the uh,
something that adds more to the game.
I'm
That
sorry.
just something that adds more to the game that you don't really need to get it, but it, definitely adds more to the game. So that we got that, and I don't know.
One of the things I didn't want to talk about is that
I went blank.
throughout this year we've seen the launch of some new consoles, which was the Vita and the Wii U. And
Ooh.
I think we can all say for pretty assuredly that the Vita not doing so hot, especially this is not a good year for Sony, especially since their bonds have been bumped down to junk, and so they got to do a pretty quick turnaround. And then with the Wii U, Nintendo, they've done it again. Even though the launch title is not like it hasn't been like the 1997 Super Mario 64, the Star Fox 64, and Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time opening salvo.
Oh, good times.
Oh my god, love those games. But they at least had a pretty solid lineup, and they've been selling very, very well with the Wii U. So best of luck to Wii U and to Nintendo, and I think they're probably gonna. I have a feeling that they're probably going to be doing very well in the future, where Sony and Microsoft are going to do the PS4 and the Xbox 720 or whatever the case may be. Console cycles for what's coming up, just because of the fact that they want to keep up. But I feel like it's going to bite them in the butt, just because the developers don't want to be spending more money on a new developer kit, learning new technology that they have no idea about, and waste, and putting a lot of money in the next console cycle of games when they have no idea whether or not they'll make a good return or not.
Mm. Yeah, I think with the Wii U, they'll definitely be a lot better than this year in terms of games for next year, for sure. And I mean, as I recall, I mean, the 360 didn't really have that huge of a lineup, did it? What Gears of War came out, and then
Dead Rising. I mean, those were the only kind of games of note.
I mean, recently, not a whole lot of the consoles that have come out had a lot of big game releases. That usually the year after, and we've seen what the 360 has become since its launch date, and it's definitely had a lot of whether it be exclusive Microsoft games or just multi-platform ones. That's why I usually don't buy consoles the first year. So
yeah, so that they can work out the kinks, and that their cycle of games can actually work out to something worthwhile purchasing.
Yeah. Well, I didn't tell you over the break. I almost considered buying a 3DS, but I didn't. So
you tease! How dare you did play with my heart like that? Like, oh, cool, one of us has a 3DS. That means they can talk about 3DS games, but no.
That's why I said I considered it, but I didn't mean I did. That doesn't mean I didn't buy it.
Rained on my parade, sir.
Yeah, it was. I was contemplating it for a couple days, and then I ended up hesitating and bought some other stuff, and so I can't afford a 3DS now. But oh well.
Oh, well, there's always this new 2013 year that all the kids are talking about.
Definitely, yeah. That's another year added to this year. So why not?
I mean, what game do you think are you looking forward to the most for next year?
That's a good question.
It's BioShock Infinite, but I would like to hear what you have to say.
Probably that. I haven't been really thinking about what games that are coming out for next year. I have to look. If I look at a list, I'll probably give you a good solid answer on one. But yeah, BioShock Infinite is pretty one that stands out for me as well for next year that I could think of. That and GTA 5.
Ooh, GTA 5, good one. I'm also looking forward to DMC, Devil May Cry. I don't know what it is about it. I like the demo didn't really impress me that much, but there's something about it that I'm really looking forward to. And it's also done by the guys who did Enslaved Odyssey to the West, so I'm more than happy to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I'll give it a look because I like the Enslaved. And one thing that sucked, it happened over the weekend. I don't know what happened, but my 360, I thought it red ringed on me. I thought it did, and then I don't know what happened. Then all my saved games got erased, and then
Oh,
so no, I was a little bit devastated the first day, and then after I thought about it, I was like, wait, I don't really have much stuff that I care about. I mean, most of the if I were gonna play some of these games again, I would usually start from scratch. So I don't really need most of these saves. The only saves that I care about are Deadly Premonition saves and WWE 13. I created some wrestlers and I lost them. and that's really all about it. Really, I mean, all the games that I have on there saved, I've beaten. So if I were going to play them again, I wouldn't start from a load. So I'd rather start from the beginning. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. So thank goodness, and it had the power brick had the red light on, so I think it was overheating. So you know what I did? I grabbed the good old air duster
Ooh,
and blew the dust right out of it. It's like, God damn, I haven't dusted this thing. No wonder if it's fucking up. It's fucking up, but it's all good.
like a snowstorm when you finally dust it off. Like, oh my gosh, it looks like the embers of Hiroshima are here.
I think I think I got mesothelioma. So that yeah, it's all good now. Uh, Blew the dust out of 360. I got I think that's probably. I will admit that's probably one of the reasons why one of my Xbox 3 red ringed, but the other one completely not my fault. I think, like I said before, I don't even care about the technology and graphics we get for another console. I just want one that works. I don't have to buy another one.
It,
3 Xboxes I bought.
I mean, gosh darn it, like Microsoft, I am a fan of your console in terms of what you provide and the games that you have there, but you really, really need to work on the hardware and make sure it doesn't keep exploding whenever we decide to, like, oh, this will be fun Halo session. Like, nope, you're just gonna have to enjoy the sweet, sweet sounds of your Xbox going absolutely bonkers.
And yeah, I think I will say that some of the blame goes to the people who actually own one because they are very careless about it. So I will give give them a slight pass, Microsoft. I will. And yeah, I think they should go the route of Steam, where they no matter what, well, no matter what gold or silver account you have, you should. It would be nice to be able to have your save games on a cloud on a server somewhere. And don't tell me that you don't have enough money to do that, Microsoft.
Yeah, Bill Gates is like, sorry, we can't really support that function right now. It's like sitting on a gold throne. It's like, well, I think you can spare a few dollars, I don't know, here or there. And, what I'm really happy about, like what I really want to see, changing is the fact that, when I lost all my saves for Dead Space 2, I was distraught just
Oh
because of
shit.
I went through the hardest difficulty of the game where you could only save 3 times, and for that, if you complete the game, then you get the foam finger, which completely demolishes every single person in your path. And yeah, I thought like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do that all over again. But turns out like just because I got the achievement that the achievement unlocked that specific item, and I want to see more of that. Just like, okay, now that you've unlocked the achievement, even if you erase your data, your achievement will be still tied to your gamer score. And for that, in case your save just decides to go haywire, that you can always go back to it and play another one.
That's actually good to hear because I have not experienced that sort of thing with some games because usually things you unlock in a game are usually attached to your save file. So if you lose that, you gotta start from scratch. That's what happened with me with when I lost all my saves. I had to with WWE 13. You have to play through the Attitude Era mode where you're playing through certain matches and to unlock wrestlers. So I had to pay $2 to unlock everything
Oh, but
because I did not want to play through that whole thing again. This is kind of frustrating.
I cannot imagine something more infuriating than like losing an item or going 60 plus hours into a game and then getting it all raced and it's like, oh well, you can get all the items back if you pay $5.
That's why I was very glad that I backed up my data permission save on my flash drive because there are plenty of things to collect in that game. I haven't collected all the trading cards that are in there and of the town. You know how there's a bunch of cards that you find out of everywhere in the town of the different people of the inhabitants that live there, and just trading cards of food and things like that, and weapons too. The best weapon I got out of it was like that RPG. It's a great weapon, but if you mess up at the slightest, you're gonna kill yourself with that thing. You can take out bosses pretty easily with that thing.
I mean, some of the items in Deadly Premonition are absolutely necessary, including the GPS,
Oh yeah,
which is pretty much absolutely necessary when you have to drive across the entire town just to get to one location.
yeah. Then I don't think I knew about that until like the middle of the game, and then I was just happy that I could just teleport to a certain area of the game instead of drive out for like 5 or 10 minutes for drive out of, especially I forgot which, I think it was like Harry's house, or yeah, I think it was Harry's house. He had to drive all the way over there. That place is like far away from the town.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible when also you have to drive across town to like maybe Harry's place or the crazy woman with the pot, and then you have to also deal with giant, large dog Cerberuses trying to attack you. It's like, okay, you know what? This is just shenanigans right now.
Hmm. A lot of memories with that. I'm trying to think of something, but quite we got questions. We got that. I was trying to remember if I was playing anything else prior. 'Cause shit, a lot of time felt like it has passed by since we last recorded. I know I've done. I'm just gonna go off topic with the stuff I've been playing.
No, please go.
I replayed a little bit of Chaos Theory. I did a video on that.
X.
I think I did like the first level with the lighthouse. That game looks still holds up, and yeah, I know with the PC, and it looks great. It looks fine on the PC. It ran pretty well. I was surprised that it ran well because I don't know, for the time I thought that game looked pretty good on the GameCube. Pretty good. It's one of the it was one of the best looking games on the GameCube. That and like WWE Day of Reckoning 2. I think those were pretty good. They looked pretty good for the GameCube. And doing doing Let's Plays of Barkley Shut Up and Jam.
That game alone deserves its own episode, and I think we shall discuss it at a later point in time, just because there's a lot I want to talk about.
There is. I think we should go about it like we've done the past reviews, where the first half we just talk about it and what we liked about it. But it's just to review that game, you gotta really get into almost like all the story bits. That's like the best part. It's like the story bits.
The story is probably the highlight of the entire game, but I also just love the gameplay in terms of what you can do and just how much intricate detail went into just making sure that the gameplay flowed as well as the story. But yeah, it's definitely that great storytelling that kind of shines right now.
Yeah. So yeah, the Barkley Shut Up and Jam.
Let's go out and get it.
I know. I don't know it's free. What else? How can you complain? And I did watch the Tales of Games guys stream yesterday. They were doing the final hours of their Kickstarter, which they wrapped up yesterday. It got like $120,000 overall.
They got my money.
You chipped in? Did you go for the $10 pack?
Possibly fine, just because I am not exactly rolling in the dough right now. So
You didn't go for that Cyber Dwarf pillow?
uh, the full body pillow. Yeah, I'm not. I wanted it, but I couldn't pay for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just went for the lowest one, was just the PC download of the game. So glad to have chipped in. That's my first Kickstarter that I've backed. So I'm sure they'll fulfill whatever they're going to do for that game. It's funny, they had their kind of list of things that they would do if they reached a certain goal, and the funny one was they had the Super Bowl commercial. They're going to do a Super Bowl commercial if they could get $1 million.
Well, like that would be a great thing to have. Just like a 5 second commercial of Charles Barkley shut up and jam too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the game when it comes out. I hope it doesn't come out too late and then I'll forget about it. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot I backed this thing.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll alert you through email or whatnot for the for when when it's all ready and said and done. So I don't think they'll let you forget about them.
Oh yeah, of course not. But it was just one of those things where I forget about it, and then I get the emails. Like, oh yeah, I gotta start playing this thing. I know that's how. I think that's how FTL got made was a Kickstarter. The Faster Than Light, the game where you play, you can have your own ship. The strategy spaceship game. They talked about a while back. You control the crew and then different aspects of the ship. That's a cool game too. That's we're checking out the PC on the
Still
PC.
haven't the game yet, just because I've just been so far away from all the games this year, and gosh darn it, I am so happy to be back in the U.S. of A. Not only because I get to play my games, but because people finally drive on the right side of the road. You jerks! Don't you tell me that the left side of the road is for where cars are coming to me at me at the wrong side. You did.
I know.
I also gotta say, the platypus is one of the most awkward-looking creatures I've ever seen in my entire life, on land and in sea. It really just looked like a Frankensteinian creature of not being able to figure out what the hell it's doing.
They are pretty weird. Weird platypuses. So yes, I other than that, I've just been doing playing those games and doing those videos. I still got some other. I still got the rest of the Barkley stuff to upload that I haven't done yet. I like that I'm really I'm going in as a method actor with the my take on these characters, going with the changing my voice, and I always mess them up.
What I mean, that's what there was a let. I don't think you can I don't think you could play Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam without actually like reading the text and then starting to manipulate your voice, just because the characters are so interesting and vastly different that you need to have different voices of themselves in your head. And then when you immediately start doing a let's play and you start talking about the characters in their text, you need it's like a bodily need to express that kind of difference.
That's right.
Damn right.
God damn.
And so just as a quick note, I saw Django Unchained before we wrap up the show. I gotta say, it was pretty good. I thought great dialogue, great acting. I did like the first 2 acts, but then the third kind of loses steam.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
The N word is used a lot. In fact, more so than was really necessary or even wanted. It just gets to the point of being excessive. It just seems like the only reason why Tarantino even has the word in there so often is just to satisfy his own need to say it. Where it doesn't sound like, oh, he's saying the N word just because like he wants to show like have social satire about um our reluctance to say the word in our culture, just because like it's changed now and being afraid of the word is actually making it kind of a worse thing. No, it's all about like, oh, I just want to say it just because I want to say it.
Mm.
That's about it.
Like a young kid, like a young kid learning a curse word.
I kind of felt the same way with his other movies, like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, um, like those his earlier movies are his swearing is so much that I'm just like, okay, this is stupid. I you don't need to swear this much, but it's Tarantino. He'll keep doing that.
I think they only did it like a couple times in Pulp Fiction, not Pulp Fiction. True Romance.
True Romance, I love the hell out of that movie, and I have to say that yeah, they use it in they use it sparingly, and it's good for effect. Just because when you use something sparingly, it adds, when you actually use it, when you actually finally use it, that it's actually used and it's actually effective in terms of how, where, and when you put it.
DiCaprio chewing up Siri in that.
DiCaprio is awesome in the film. He is, this plantation owner who kind of sees himself as a king, and he's ruling himself and all of his family and servants like underneath his boot heel, and yeah, he's great in the film, but there's not enough of him in the film. He's prominent, but he's not enough to be warranted like the second billing. Like it's like Jamie Foxx, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Christoph Waltz. It should be like Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, and Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson has actually a much larger role to play than what the TV ads and trailers would have you assume.
God damn.
Yeah, and then I also saw The Hobbit, which was I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings, but I thought this was a good film. This was a great introduction to a new trilogy and I can't really review the entire thing without seeing the rest of the trilogy because it's kind of hard to review a movie that's dependent on the next sequel and the following movies to kind of have its own identity.
Mm.
But I'd say it was good. But the problem was that the biggest problem is that there's a bunch of subplots which aren't immediately tied to the main storyline, so you're wondering why the hell they're even there. But they're fine. I mean, it's a good movie. It's obviously a quality movie. Great acting all around. Ian McKellen's great. Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins is perfect. I love Cate Blanchett and Christopher Lee coming back, and Hugo Weaving as their characters from Lord of the Rings. And it just the only thing that kind of bothers me is the fact that there's not enough. There doesn't seem to be enough to justify 3 films, and the stuff that they do include to kind of lengthen it out is kind of ancillary stuff that doesn't really belong in the story, and it feels like it's not actually tied to the main plot.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There you go. I still need to see those movies. It's on my list.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings, and I'm sure I like those. I'm deep into fantasy right now with the Game of Thrones books and the Witcher book that I read recently, a while back. So yeah, those are ones I need to check out. Some fantasy stuff. Check out some more fantasy stuff.
I need to read more books, or at least go on to Audible.com and download some excellent books from the website.
Oh, you mean audibletrial.com/bloody thumbs?
Exactly, my good friend. That is the website that we all go to for our audio book needs. And frankly, I don't know why would you go to anything else.
If you go to audibletrial.com/bloody thumbs, you get triple XP in Halo 4.
That is very, very true. And you also get some Mountain Dew and some Doritos by your side, and then you can also make national headlines in terms of news and questions about whether or not you're a good news journalist or not. So why don't you go on to audible.com and go for audibletrial.com/Blay Thumbs and just try it out and get some good old fashioned books.
I ain't no journalist. So anyone who takes me seriously is nuts. That's what I say. That's my name tag.
Yeah. So the only thing that we have left for our podcast is some of the questions that we've submitted for episode. This is the episode 124. I'm not even sure that we mentioned it, but it was episode 124.
I did. I mentioned it surprisingly.
That's excellent.
We're not that rusty in the podcasting game. Yeah, I think that's about it. Unless you have anything else you want to discuss, I'm fresh out of shit to talk about. To be honest with you,
save it for next time around for fresh shit. But now we have let's go into the questions. And the first one is from Transmorpher, and she asks, first off, I must thank you guys for continuously talking about Barkley Shep and Jam Gaiden for the past few episodes, and alongside Splinter's Let's Play of it. I have downloaded and played the game with much delight. Can't wait for to play some more. Question: With the negative feedback that Duke Nukem Forever had received, do you think Gearbox can make a modern Duke Nukem game work?
I thought of that too after I beat the game. I don't think it's terribly as bad as people made it out to be. It's mediocre at best. I think that it relies too much on maybe it's just me that was relying on this nostalgia of Duke Nukem. Maybe Duke Nukem wasn't cool after all. Is it just me? I don't know. I mean, it was fine. I mean, it's just
Like
yeah, it was '90s cool.
80s cool is basically like a bunch of tough dudes kicking down the doors and saying one-liners. Like 90s is like a bunch of tough dudes kicking down doors saying one-liners and then just like putting a middle finger to the audience like, yeah, you like this, don't you? And then it's like, yeah, that was basically Duke Nukem, and like he was cool for that reason, and that he would just recycle one-liners and be just like, yeah, I'm the best there is, and then and I could see Gearbox making a good Duke Nukem game. I don't think probably a full-fledged retail game to compete with the modern first-person shooter, but maybe like an arcade game for $15 about just like a good old romp through like crazy settings and set pieces and just having fun. But I don't think that Duke Nukem can really sustain a fully fledged game again.
Yeah, I mean, now that I have grown up since I played Duke Nukem Forever, and I definitely enjoy my weird and crazy balls to the wall comedy when it comes to games or just gratuitous violence in general. Uh, Duke Nukem Forever was fine. I think people had too much expectations for it, and
Yeah.
it was not a $60. It's not worth $60. Uh, when it came out. I think if and I mean, I think that's what it was. That's what the game was. It was a game that's been in development for many years. There are things in the game that are very dated, and you can tell they're dated because they have platforming in that game, which is definitely a '90s thing to do with first-person shooters.
Yeah, you have a game. Let's put some platforming in
And dumb and puzzles too, and those dumb puzzles that are you know simply it's simple to solve and the thing with its comedy, I'll admit there were some kind of funny moments in it, but it was just had to do with the one-liners. I find I chuckle at a lot with the one-liners, and it had that weird moment with the babes and the aliens when you go into that.
it.
That was just weird. That's something that I got. If I'm playing that game for that, and I reach that part, I gotta like I gotta close the door and no one sees me play that part because just it's just weird. It's disturbing.
And I feel like Gearbox was kind of, um, I mean, the product was pretty much finished when the previous developers were working on it. Was that D3
Uh,
working on it? Pretty much was showcasing the game, and it wasn't too different from the actual final product. And for that, I think Gearbox was just kind of polishing up what they could, then releasing it. And I think Duke Nukem will still exist as a franchise, as as something as a part of the history of video games. But I don't think it's going to be have as much prevalence as it once did, just because of the fact that frankly, a lot better stuff has come along to supersede it. And even as kind of an arcadey shooter, it's still not as good as what we have today.
It was. I think. It can be done. It's just that it requires good writing. I think if they go the route of Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden with Duke Nukem Forever and just try to put Duke in this kind of serious story where that is ridiculous, but you're gonna go along with it because that's the funny part of it, and his
If it was if Duke Nukem was handled like Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam, I would be more than happy to pay for
get the guys who wrote Barkley Shut Up and Jam for Duke Nukem.
it. Oh, I would love that. Just like uh, just like a first-person shooter where Duke Nukem has like he's like middle-aged and is starting to get like yeah, he's having like midlife crisis. He doesn't know what he's doing with his life. Like he's killed so many aliens and saved so many plants. He doesn't know what the point is anymore. He's bored with everything, and like that would be a perfect Duke Nukem game. Just because that, like, let that would be like the final magnum opus Duke Nukem franchise. Now, and I would be more than happy to pay for it.
Yeah, they probably go that route of that Bruce Campbell movie that he did where
Uh, my name is Bruce.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
can I
I
get
saw
back into Duke?
it's good.
And I think it can be done. It may not be the greatest thing, but if it could be a lot better than Forever was. Uh, in terms of of the writing and just the comedy in general, there definitely could be some improvements with the overall shooting and the pace of the game. The game didn't have greatest pacing ever, but I think if it was released for $30, I don't think it would gotten as much flack as it did. I think releasing it for $60 was a bit too pricey.
Was 12 plus years of development, and God knows how much money. Several developers. I mean, and it was a pretty revered franchise. So I mean, it didn't like, for instance, in comparison, Spec Ops: The Line. Nobody had huge expectations because Spec Ops was one of those franchises just kind of faded into nothing. But Duke Nukem was one of those like, oh, okay, it's a Duke Nukem game and it's in development. People are going to be, people are going to be, paying attention, and so there's going to be obviously expectations for it all.
Mm.
But it was obviously never going to reach those expectations, especially with the game we eventually got.
Yeah, it was just mediocre at best. But I mean, I'll replay it every once in a while, but not something that I would always remember for being a good game. But it's fine. Not great. Close to bad, but
Yeah,
not terrible as people made it out to be. There are definitely far worse games than that. I put in Vampire Rain as one of them, one of the early launch titles for the 360.
their salvation. That
Ooh.
game, oh my god, that game erased a bit of my soul when I was playing it. I hope to do a let's play one day when I finally get the equipment of that game and just narrate my journey. I hope to be like the like a new modern day version of Heart of Darkness, where it just the descent into madness and despair, just to showcase and warn people of what's to come.
Yeah, I think if the game's tone is that of yeah we're gonna be nostalgic and try to and be like a 80s or 90s action movie, then I think that would flow pretty well with others. And yeah, I mean, I think it definitely could if they could make it work. I think it could be do well as a downloadable title as well. I think they did that with Alan Wake, American Nightmare. I think they could do that with Duke Nukem.
It's what they also did for Eat Lead: The Return of Matt Hazard, where they instead of making a full-fledged sequel, they decided just to go with an arcade game, and that was actually a better, in terms of gameplay, a much better game than the original game, which was too bad, just because damn it, I love Eat Lead, and I would love to see a full-fledged sequel to it, but I have a feeling that it's probably not going to happen. So at least they had like a good arcade game that was kind of a Contra style shooter to it all.
Yeah, make it like that. American Nightmare was good. Didn't have it could have been better. It didn't have enough Barry. I love Barry.
I disagree on Barry so much. That fat ass poking his head into view, just like, okay, you know what? This guy, I can understand why Alan Wake's an alcoholic, just because he's friends with this guy and he has to cope with that.
I don't know. I find them endearing.
Okay, okay, we'll agree to disagree on that subject. So the next question is from Jack Burton, who asks, "What are some of the games of this current generation that you'll still come back to long after the release of the next system or systems?"
Hmm. Binary Domain.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah.
I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm pretty far into it. I'm really digging it. It's it's a fun third person shooter. Deadly Premonition is one there. I can play that. Uh, Deadly Mass Effect 2 is good. The Witcher 2. Just the ones that come off the top of my head. Those are the games I really uh enjoyed a lot out of them. Blood Money. Love me some Blood Money and Absolution. Even though the gameplays for those are slightly different, but I Blood Money is a fantastic game. That will be always near and dear with my heart. So those are the ones that come to mind. I'm not going to list every 360 game I enjoy because I enjoy most of them for the most part. But those are the ones that I will probably replay more than once. I have replayed more than once.
Well, for the games that I will probably return to, uh, definitely, I'd have to say BioShock right off the bat. I think that's probably one of the best examples of not only the best gameplay of this generation, but just of storytelling this generation and what they've really done in terms of boosting narrative and how gameplay can actually feed into that. I'd have to probably say of this generation, probably the Halo series. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the Halo series. I love the gameplay. I think the pacing of it all and the enemy types are just so varied and perfect that I can't help but go back to it. Um, the Mass Effect series I love, but the only problem is that I don't see myself doing a lot of that in the future, just because the full story of Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3 requires a lot of time. So probably not so much Mass Effect as I would for the other games. The Batman Arkham City game I really love. Enslaved. It's not too long to play that one. And I love the story of that game. Uh,
How do I forget Bayonetta?
Bayonetta is a perfect one where it's just so fun to play, and that game is just addictive in terms of how great that combat is, and the combat is it's just so rewarding to even just go through it all and face all the enemy types. Like there's not a single type of enemy encounter where I wasn't having fun with that game. Um, Metro 2033, I really loved in terms of the story, the atmosphere, the gameplay, and how everything kind of fed right into each other. Saints Row the Third, because I love smacking people in the face with a military grade dildo bat. Just because, I mean, who doesn't? That's just pure fun. Um, Deus Ex Human Revolution. I love that game. I'll probably return to it and just enjoy the hell out of it. Splinter Cell Conviction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Splinter Cell games. I mean, come on, it's Splinter Cell. Who doesn't love Splinter Cell? Dead Space, love that game. Um, and probably Red Dead Redemption. Now I'm thinking about it, just because I love westerns. I love good stories, and Red Dead has both of those in spades, and just great gameplay. I think it's probably Rockstar's best game to date.
Yeah, I do enjoy Red Dead Redemption. Have only played the thing. I only played through the game once, and it's like a movie. I see the first time. I wanna rewatch it again, but I haven't gotten the chance to replay that again.
But the problem is it's a very long game. So
Well, that's why. Like I can't replay Fallout because it's that long of a game. But no, I already I've had my fill with that type of game with Fallout and Skyrim. I think I've done everything I could possibly do to satisfy my need for open world RPG with Skyrim there.
yeah, I love Fallout. I love Skyrim, but gosh darn it, I cannot play those games again.
Yeah, I know it's hard to get back into because I don't have the time that much anymore. And our
We have jobs and other necessities to attend to, and video games. I mean, I love video games, but they gotta kind of respect our time. Like they gotta be. they got to be at least worth playing in terms of everything that like I don't want to be playing Final Fantasy 13 where I'm going through 72 hours of tutorials and like oh trust me it gets fun after the 73rd.
Oh fuck. Hell no.
That is Jack Burton's that a question. Thank you very much, Jack Burton and Transmorpher, for your questions. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Let me refresh the page. Uh, oh yeah, I did get a message from Transmorph. I don't know why she messaged me. She could have put it in the show notes. I mean the comments section. But anyway, that's fine. Uh, the question was, what gaming moment or game do you see or play uh when you're down when you're wait I can't even read this. Hold on a sec. I need my glasses. Goddamn it.
But you and your old senility, Mr. Splinter.
What games or gaming moment do you replay in order when you're in a either bad or down mood? Well, I think when I'm not in a happy mode and when I'm sad, I like to go back and see some of the cutscenes for Bayonetta. That's definitely one that get me up and lively. Appreciate life and some Daily Premonition stuff too. And most importantly, the opening video for Resident Evil One. You remember that? You remember the opening for Resident Evil One?
Yes, Redfield. This guy, Wesker.
Barry Burton.
Fact that they are you talking about the live action opening?
Yeah.
Oh, that is perfect. Just because they could not have picked the most amateur-ish actors. I'm pretty sure that they just asked their friends and family to star in the film and just to look like actors and then like give dialogue whenever they could. Like it was impressive just how overtly weird it was.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing we could do a riff tracks on. Actually, it would be a good idea to do like one of the. I don't think anyone done like a riff tracks on games, something like that. Well, I think Game Grumps do that, right?
They do in games, but it's more just like seam of their pants, kind of just playing the game as well. But yeah, I don't think anybody's kind of cornered the market on cinematic riff tracks yet. So without character personality going on, like if we do it, then we're probably gonna have to just do it as our thoughts come along.
Albert Wesker. Wait! Don't open that door.
I do. You almost were a Jill sandwich back there. Oh, just great. I am.
Yeah, watching the opening for Resident Evil One puts a smile on my face every time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't wait for the Resident Evil 6 edition of the game where they replace all the CG cutscenes with college actors were this is their first gig, so they got to act their hearts out to get a new job, and just wow, that would be just impressive.
Yeah, there's a moment or two in Binary Domain that had me laughing.
Intentionally or unintentionally?
Oh, intentionally. They were. I won't give it away, but there was like one part where they kind of make fun of some like an action movie. You know how someone gets hurt and then you think they're gonna die, and then it was just really funny. And there's another one. I'll probably link you after the podcast. But that was pretty funny. So, yeah, Resident Evil. The opening for Resident Evil One makes me happy. Watch me watching that. Yeah.
Well, then I would be more than happy to see it. Please send it off, and I would like to see it. And everybody out there, please watch it as well, because I haven't watched it in a very long time, and I like to be remembered. And I would like to remember some of the more classical forms of theater and drama, as brought to you by the worst actors you could ever imagine.
Yeah, it's a. Oh, I gotta look that up, but that's worth checking out. I'll probably put it in the show notes.
And also, just want to mention really quickly that THQ has gone bankrupt.
They have, but they've been purchased by some company, right? I forgot what they own some stuff. So,
I'm sure it's an electronics shop down the street. It's like, yeah, we'll just buy it just because they got some stuff.
yeah, but they're still going to be making games, so they're not completely shut down or anything.
No, 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 not it's not too bad, but yeah, it does seem like it's kind of the end of THQ's independent nature.
Yeah, I mean they've made some interesting business decisions, but I think they have some talented people
Oh,
that develop games for them. The Saints Row games are good, and the the Space Marine Warhammer 40K Space Marine was a good game. I did play that one. That's a fun third person shooter that doesn't even have a cover system, which is pretty awesome.
that's a big surprise these days. Like if you don't have a cover system in your game, you better be bringing out the big guns for your game.
It has an interesting mechanic how you can regain health and stuff where you just do like a takedown or kind of a kill an orc with your sledgehammer, not a sledgehammer, with a chainsaw sword, and that's how you get your health back. And then you kind of have to avoid getting hit so you can just shields regenerate. So there's like the shields, but not really a cover system that you're in. You're not in a cover system a lot, so you just the way you stay alive if you're in a group of covered with a group of orcs, you just kind of do these takedown moves that regain health. So that's pretty awesome
Mm.
and incredibly violent, which is awesome.
It's even better. I like it when you have a game mechanic that actually helps you out in terms of getting health back. It's one that's also violent as well. So that's probably why I gravitate very closely towards the Darkness too.
Yeah, it's like it's not one of those games where if you get in a sticky situation, you have to like stay in cover for like 10 seconds and like I gotta wait to get back into this again. But no, that's you're always in kick ass mode with Space Marine and not having to rely on getting in cover. But sometimes, yeah, I'd run away because I'm low on health and there's no orcs around me. It's like I gotta move out of the way. Just shoot them with my gun or hit them with a chainsaw sword. But other than that, do you have any gaming moments or games that you play or rewatch cinematics for to feel all happy inside?
Um, for me, I would probably have to say, uh, I mean, I'm always taken back whenever I play Super Mario World, just to my childish days of ease and finesse, like trying to fit. I haven't actually grown up at all in any way of just like trying to figure out this thing. It's like, oh, like when I was younger, I'd just like, how the hell do I solve this? Now it's like, how the hell do I solve this? Just say they just now have more hair. So it's it's that, but like the game that I love playing that takes me back, that I just absolutely love, that will bring a smile to my face no matter what, is probably Halo Combat Evolved, and that's a tough one, but probably uh oh Crimson Skies, High Road to Revenge, just because that was a game that was just like it was escapist fantasy, and it was Uncharted before Uncharted, where you could play this kind of a roguish hero, kind of like Indiana Jones, in this very cool not futuristic setting, but kind of otherworldly setting where the world is dominated by zeppelins and airplanes, and it really was it's just fun to just jump into, and it's simple good guy versus bad guy, and you're just having fun and taking down the bad guys, and just like, yeah, you're a rogue, you're a thief with a heart of gold, and that was always fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for the other question there, Transmorpher.
Yes, thank
So
you.
yeah, that's just about wraps up the podcast because we're running out of things to talk about, and we don't want to go too long as we usually do. But I think that's a contradiction by me. But we it is a pleasure returning from the from our festivities, holiday festivities,
Yeah,
and talk about some games that came out this year that were good. Sort of a little retrospect along with some small tidbits of off-topic stuff.
Absolutely, and I am just pleased as punch to have talked about it and to have gotten my groove back with this podcast, and I cannot wait for the next one, and also for the next year and what comes ahead with gaming.
Same here. So thanks everyone for listening. Check us out on the old iTunes and on Twitter at Splinter47 and at ch_Gorog. Follow our Twitter stuff, and the audibletrial.com/Bloody Thumbs is still alive and kicking. So if you want to listen to some free audiobooks while also helping the show out, that would be nice. Use it for a podcast. It won't go in my pocket. Don't worry about it. They'd be going for the podcasts.
It's quite something that you can enjoy, and we're also on spill.com under the group page of Bloody Thumbs. So if you have any comments or questions, please send them off to us, and we'll be more than happy to read them.
And on the YouTube, I've been mainly posting the podcast on the my channel. I've been trying to post them on the Bloody Thumbs channel, but it is time consuming uploading stuff on YouTube. So I try my best.
Well, you do a good job at it, good sir. I thank you for basically being the driving force for this partnership right here, because it sure as hell isn't me.
Well, YouTube stuff it's a process, so it's not something that can be done easily.
The resolution is to do a lot more work for our group as well as for the YouTube page. So keep a lookout out for that. And we want to say thank you very much for all of our fans this year and for all of the years past. And we wish you all a very merry holidays and a happy new year.
Most definitely. This will be the last podcast of this year. This is probably going to be reaching up for 4 years doing this thing. Almost 4 years. I guess by November, October, I recall that's when the month that we started doing this. So it's going to be probably about 3 or 4 years now. God damn.
Wow. I cannot even imagine 4 years ago, man. Can you? I'm almost out of college right now. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna get a job and a house and a wife who can't absolutely tolerate my incessant idiocy. It's ridiculous.
Time flies by, and we're still alive. Damn you, Mayans!
Mayans, you promised me that I would be dead by now. I sold all my worldly possessions for nothing. Come on, guys.
Sold my timeshare.
Yeah, his timeshare, my Rolex. I mean, what you guys think? My dog? Because please take my dog. My dog is annoying as hell. You can take him, please.
So yeah, this has been episode 124 of Bloody Thumbs Podcast. I'm Splinter47, and have a good week.
Bye, everybody.